We had a pretty interesting discussion here earlier, so I just wanted to make sure that the whole world didn't have to hear it.
We've had a lot of good discussions here lately. Hey, Drew, how are you?
I'm good, thanks. How are you?
Great. I'm actually just making small talk because my computer's not up yet.
Wow, that was kind of hurtful.
I guess that sounded wrong, didn't it?
Yeah, it kind of came out wrong.
Sharing the love.
So I'm going to start by closing the executive session and reopening the public meeting for the Port Commission meeting here. May 5th? Is it Cinco de Mayo?
No, it's tomorrow, sir.
Oh, 4th of May.
4th.
You could start today.
2021. I know people who started yesterday, actually.
Or last week, maybe last year.
Yeah, so we'll open the Port Commission meeting. I'll start with the roll call. Commissioner Briscoe?
Here.
Commissioner Shepard?
Here.
Commissioner Bell is here. All present and accounted for. And now we'll open the meeting to public comment. Anybody wishing to make a comment before the Port Commission should take the time to do so now. We will do another one at the end of the meeting. So if you don't get everything said now, you have another shot at it. Chris?
Me. Hi, this is Chris Patterson. I am in Point Roberts, and I would like to request that the ferry sailings include passengers with bicycles for various reasons, I guess. I know they're not a Washington State ferry, but clearly the state ferry system includes bicyclists and in fact gives them priority and encourages it. They even claim 280,000 people yearly. So obviously they promote the environmental, the health, and the mobility benefits of it, at least at the WS website. And so clearly it's an environmentally good thing. It will prevent a 100-mile round trip travel for me in a car, and I guess the ferry is running regardless. So it seems smart to take advantage of it. But of course, traveling through Bellingham would be facilitated by a bicycle for me, especially maybe my age and the COVID adversity. Even though I've been vaccinated, I still don't really prefer mass transit. So that's kind of, maybe it's personal, maybe it's smart, regardless. I think that you could probably do this with a low impact to other passengers. I don't know the specifics of it or the reason why it's not allowed right now, but clearly you could limit the number of people with bicycles. You could put them outside, which we'd happily do, I assume. And you could also restrict it maybe to Point Roberts to Bellingham only and return, instead of encouraging. I could see not encouraging people to come to Point Roberts, although I hear that that's changing, and people are now really wanting people to boost the economy here, and that probably wouldn't hurt anyway. So it would, maybe 5, maybe 10 bicycles on a ferry crossing seems reasonable to me. And whatever you can do to facilitate that, I'd appreciate it. Thank you.
Commissioners, if I can address that one real quick. So I talked to Drew Schmidt, the owner of the vessel, because one of the reasons we didn't allow bicycles was it's not a Washington State ferry, it's a small vessel. And we were afraid that we could not secure them properly without having them banging around and we'd get too many bicycles. But I talked to Drew earlier today. He thinks he can accommodate 6 bicycles kind of under behind the stairs. So what we would do, and I haven't worked with the meetings and events department to see if they can accommodate this, but I think what we would do is open up our reservation system to allow the first 6 bicycles on, and then we'd cut it off after 6. I'm not sure how they're going to monitor that, but let me work with them, and we'll see if we can't get this implemented as soon as possible.
Thanks so much.
Thanks, Rob.
Chris, you're likely to get that successful because we are a biking community, as it has become more and more apparent over the years.
Yeah, we'd sure like to see a lot more bike lanes in various places, but that can be difficult. Even here, Point Roberts still isn't really that bike friendly, but it's low traffic, so maybe it is.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to speak before the commission? All right, seeing none. I'm going to move on to the advisory committee meetings. We've got the Marina Advisory Committee meeting, the MAC, on May 11th at 6 p.m. That will be a Zoom meeting. We will have the Bellingham International Airport Advisory Committee meeting on July 15th at 4 p.m. That is also a Zoom meeting. You can go to our website, Port of Bellingham, to find the link to those Zoom meetings. Again, the Marine Advisory Committee, May 11th, 6 p.m. And the BIAC, the Bellingham International Airport Committee, July 15th at 4 p.m. And with that, we'll move to the consent agenda.
I motion to approve the consent agenda items A through E.
Commissioner Shepard, do you have anything you'd like to pull or add?
I just had a question on E about the liquor permit, and just wondering if there are any physical modifications to the space that need to be made to satisfy the liquor control board, or are they able to proceed with the existing floor plan?
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Terry Lahi, real estate manager, property manager. I can answer that for you. The couple of modifications that we have to do to the lease is to change the non-exclusive seating area to exclusive seating area. Other than that, I believe Mr. Schmidt will be installing a couple of barricades and around the area to cordon it off that liquor will only be allowed within that area. Other than that, I'm not aware of any modifications.
Commissioners, I just want to point out, Drew Schmidt is on the call here too, so if you have questions for him specifically about the space, I think he's here to help answer those.
Okay. Yeah, Drew, if you wanted to chime in, I just wanted to see if there were any changes to the public kind of use of the space and how this was going to get put in place. I know the Liquor Control Board they can be a little challenging to work with. They made us do way more modifications than I was hoping to see at the Granary building. We had to wall off a big part of that interior, which I just was heartbroken to see all that wall have to go up, and hopefully we don't have to do the same things at the terminal.
Yeah, thank you. From my understanding, what we're gonna have to do is put up some semi-permanent, semi-temporary barricade around the seating area. We'll still leave public access all the way around it. It just has to be signed that you have to keep the liquor within the seating area. And they say that'll take care of it. I mean, you can still buy margaritas to go at every other restaurant in town. So hopefully that won't be too hard on us.
All right. Good. Well, best of luck with it.
Thanks.
The one good thing the pandemic has brought us is margaritas to go.
And there's no drive-throughs yet.
They're coming.
That's all my questions, Commissioner Bell.
Okay, Commissioner Briscoe, anything for you?
Yeah, I do. I have one on, I think it's item B here. Let me make sure. Yeah, our commission, our resolution to sell vessels. It's come to my attention, and I don't know if my fellow commissioners know, but the DNR and the state made changes to these rules as far as vessels and our ability to auction them as a port. And the more I've been thinking about this the last week and a half, it's I think we need to say something to the state and the DNR about this, because they've they tell us we have to do this on one hand, and on the other hand, they're giving us vessels that are derelict, and we can't do anything with them now. You can't sell them, you can't auction them. So I don't know if John's got information on this, but I don't want to stop us from moving forward here, but I think further on in the meeting, we need to have some kind of discussion about how we're going to deal with these derelict vessels that come to us because of non-payment and people walking away and we're left with them. And then years old, you can't auction them. So I just want to point that out before we moved on, but that's all I have.
Hey, Commissioner, I'll address that point really quickly if I can. The WPPA is well aware of the problem. We're not the only port that's having this issue. So I think the best approach to this is to get Tiffany and some of the other marina managers together. They can all go down to Olympia and start working with the legislators on a legislative fix. I don't believe we're going to get a fix working directly with DNR. They've never proved to be very cooperative on this in the past. So I think a legislative fix is in order, and you know, we've got the WPPA behind us. We probably have a pretty good shot at getting that done.
So Mike,
Yeah, at the very least, they should leave it up to the port as to what the construction or shape of the vessel's in before they decide you can auction it. I mean, so anyway, yes, I think that's a good avenue, Rob.
and I wasn't going to say anything on this, but since you brought it up, Bobby, is there a primary reason why these things are not auctionable? Are they just in such bad shape that they're essentially?
Most of them we don't get any bidders on because they're basically salvage, right? They're salvage value.
So it costs more to refurbish it than it would be to keep it.
Right, but ironically, what's happened is vessel construction wasn't taken into consideration by the DNR or the state. You know, a fiberglass vessel per se that's 40 years old might be stronger hull-wise than when it was built. They haven't, you know, the Navy hasn't really come out and said that. They said they get stronger as they get older. Whereas wood, you can go totally the other way, or you could be good. So they took a big paintbrush and painted things over here and made a kind of a mess for the ports, is what they did. And there was not really much thought process behind this other than they were trying to figure out how to get out of having to pay for derelict vessels. It was all about the money. It wasn't about, you know, what worked and didn't work.
Agree.
And protecting their own risk, not and passing the risk on to others.
Right.
Okay, I have no comments, so we'll move forward with the consent agenda.
Okay. Motion to approve consent agenda items A through E.
Commissioner Briscoe,
Yes.
Commissioner Shepard,
Yes.
and Commissioner Pell is a yes. All right, unanimous. Let's move on to the action items.
Okay. Motion to approve resolution number 1106-X, modifying existing delegation of powers to add certain administrative powers and duties to the executive director.
So Rob, I think this is mine.
Yes, it is.
So commissioners, you presently under your delegation of authority, you've delegated Executive Director Rob Fix certain authority managing leases, issued notices of default, notice of termination, other enforcement actions under your lease provisions. It came to our thought that, you know, with the variety of agreements you have at the waterfront, you know, on the one hand, it's master development agreement, the other hand, it's the license agreements for construction staging and parking and skate track or pump tracks, you know, temporary use agreements, leases. There's a whole host of activities and property type agreements you have going on down the waterfront now, and we can foresee more in the future. Given the nature of how you've delegated that authority for managing properties to the executive director for leases, we thought it would be appropriate for the executive director to have the same authority in managing the waterfront on those agreements you've already approved. And the way we presented this to you, though, is executive director wouldn't have the authority to settle any issues or modify any existing agreements. Just take those, what we might say as administrative actions, and enforcing the agreements you've approved in that process. So it's just, it mirrors your delegation of authority that you have for leases and applies to property agreements at the waterfront. If you have any questions.
Commissioner
I have
Shepard.
none.
Commissioner Shepard.
I don't have any further questions either. I've already spoken with staff on this and I'm ready to proceed.
Yeah, and I don't have any questions other than I think this is long overdue, and I think it's time to to move some things along on the waterfront, so this will help. All right,
Motion to approve resolution number 1106-X, modifying existing delegation of powers to add certain administrative powers and duties to the executive director.
Commissioner Shepard,
Yes.
Commissioner Briscoe,
Yes.
Commissioner Bell is a yes. Action item number
Thank you,
2.
Commissioners.
Brady, you're up next.
Motion by the Port Commission to approve a harbor land lease, including lease of DNR property between the Port of Bellingham and Fairhaven Industrial Marine Repair Facility, LLC, for premises at 200, 201, and 207 Harris Avenue.
Brady Scott,
Yeah, good evening, Commissioners. Brady Scott, Senior Property Manager here at the Port. The Real Estate Division's pleased to present a new lease for the Shipyard property in Fairhaven. This lease was negotiated under the direction of Shirley McPheron, Director of Real Estate, prior to her recent retirement. The proposed lease is with Fairhaven Industrial Marine Repair Facility, LLC, company owned and operated by Jeff Hamilton. Mr. Hamilton is here today on the Zoom, should you have any questions for him. The term of the lease is for 10 years with one 5-year renewal option, and it's for the entire shipyard property, including the Harris Avenue Pier, the marine rails, and the several buildings on site. Fairhaven Industrial Marine Repair Facility will use the property for a diverse set of uses in support of multiple companies owned and operated by Mr. Hamilton. Mr. Hamilton's business activity include marine construction, heavy civil construction, and manufacturing, and he has a fleet of vessels, including barges and tugs. Mr. Hamilton is specifically interested in operating a marine industrial property where he can consolidate his operations and expand his shipyard and marine repair facilities. The lease includes an explicit limitation to avoid competition with the Bellingham Shipping Terminal, including a prohibition on transporting certain freight like recyclable materials and jetty rock. The Fairhaven Industrial Marine Repair Facility expects to start operations with approximately 20 jobs, and additional jobs will be created as the property is brought back online and into productivity. Rent for the first 5-year period is over $4 million, which is comparable to the rate received by the former tenant. And the rent would be renegotiated for the second 5-year period. Lease meets the port's objectives by recruiting new water-reliant commercial marine business, stimulating private investment and job creation on our waterfront, and putting a large vacant property back into productivity. The Real Estate Division recommends approval. So please let us know if you have any questions for staff or Mr. Hamilton. Thanks.
I have a question, Brady. Some confusion, so for clarification for me, all the buildings, or is the small warehouse been pulled out of that? I thought we were leasing to someone else, or was that a sublease, or I think it's the Dogfish Warehouse building?
Yeah, good question. Yeah, there's the Dogfish Warehouse, which is kind of on the eastern edge of the property, is not included in the lease. That's set aside for a different use.
Okay.
And, one tenant in the corner of Warehouse 9, which is also not included in the lease.
Okay. Secondly, and well, I got a lot of noise going on here. That just on my end, does everybody hear that? Is anyone from the ILWU on the Zoom meeting? Joe or?
No, I didn't see any of them on here today.
I never ever did hear what the feedback was from those guys. And I would certainly like to know before I vote. Have you spoken to any of you, Brady or Rob?
What was done on the lease is explicit prohibition for certain items related to not competing with the shipping terminal activities that are there. And so that was carried forward in the lease.
Right. My question was, do we actually speak to anybody from the ILWU or not?
I did not speak with them, sir. We did put those parameters in the lease that the Fairhaven shipping yard could not move these certain items that would go to the shipping terminal, so we thought they'd be satisfied with that exclusion.
Okay, very good. That's all the questions I have.
Commissioner Shepard?
Well, I just wanted to just start out with thanking you, Mr. Hamilton, for showing interest in our community. It's been a sore spot for us to have this piece of dirt vacant and to see the jobs that were associated with it not be filled as quickly as we would have liked. And so I'm enthusiastic to see it return to productivity and to have a company that seems to have a really diverse set of operations and a good established business to be able to take ownership and really make productive use of this. I certainly hope we can see that a ramp up in the employment on the site. You know, we used to have around 75 jobs working here, and 20 is a great start to get back there, and hope that you're successful and that the venture is successful and we're able to see that ramp up to some employment levels that get closer to where we were before. But I just am pleased to have you here, and glad you were able to make the meeting. And it seems that you've been a good negotiating partner as we've gone forward. It certainly is important for us to maintain our positive working relationship with the ILWU union, who services our shipping terminal. And I think the staff has done a good job of parsing that out so that those ventures aren't going to compete. And we've certainly seen successful use of this property in the past without competing with that shipping terminal. So I don't have any real specific questions. I know this has been percolating and building for a long time, and I'm excited to see it get over the finish line.
Mr. Hamilton, before I weigh in, would you like to say a couple things?
Yeah, I also am appreciative of the opportunity. I have, like Commissioner repeated, I have a lot of amazing opportunities with being access to the water in the tight marine, and I happen to be in the rail car business and heavy locomotive business, and it's really going to amend to everything I do. I've currently been working out of the landings for the last 6 years now, and it's been very difficult with the amount of space there, but so this opportunity is huge, and I'm really pleased for it. And there's going to be some exciting projects coming up. So thank you.
Well, I'm going to add to what Commissioner Shepard said, and that is that we're not the ones who create jobs here, you are. So just know that we will roll out the red carpet. If you were here, we had cake. You missed it. Dude, I'm sorry. But we'll enjoy it for you. And just know that we will help you in any way we possibly can, because our job is to make you successful. So welcome aboard. You're part of a big family now. We love the fact that you're here, and I think you'll be very successful here, and we'll do everything we can to help you. So thank you for this.
Thank you.
Anything else from the commissioners?
I do have one question for Mr. Hamilton. Hey, I'm glad you're coming on board. I think it's a great opportunity for yourself and for the port and for the people of the county to have your business there. Are you intending to operate our railway? Our rail, we got one in Blaine that's not being operated very much, and I'd hate to see another railway that might set idle. Do you have some plans for that?
I do, yes. There are several contractors interested that I will start proposing to use the rail system. Yes, I very much would like to use it.
Glad to hear that, Jeff.
Yes.
All right, thank you. I'm glad to hear that. I like to keep our big boats. I'd like to keep the dollars of our big crab boats and our tenders and stuff that are in our harbors. I'd like to keep that in Whatcom County and some of it in your pocket for our people. So thank you. I appreciate that.
Right.
And welcome to the South Side.
Okay, with that, Terry?
Motion by the Port Commission to approve a harbor land lease, including lease of DNR property between the Port of Bellingham and Fairhaven Industrial Marine Repair Facility LLC for premises at 200, 201, and 207 Harris Avenue.
Commissioner Briscoe,
Yes.
Shepard,
I'm a yes.
and Commissioner Bell is also a yes, unanimous. Welcome aboard.
Thank
Okay,
you,
with that,
Commissioners.
that is the end of our regular commission meeting. Once again, we'd like to extend an offer for anyone wishing to speak before the commission, or anything that's on your mind. Does anyone here wish to speak before this commission? Seeing none, I'm going to go to other business. Commissioner Briscoe,
I'm going to defer at the moment.
Commissioner Shepard,
I don't have any, thank you.
Commissioner Briscoe.
I'm deferring at the moment. Go ahead.
I don't have any. Commissioner Briscoe.
Oh, well, I guess I'm going to not have any either then. I had one thing, but I think we kind of touched on it already, so there's no sense wasting any time on it. So,
All right, with that, then this meeting is adjourned. Thanks, gentlemen. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.